It's time for Supply Chain Now Radio, broadcasting live from the supply chain capital of the country, Atlanta, Georgia. Supply Chain Now Radio spotlights the best in all things supply chain. The people, the technologies, the best practices, and the critical issues of the day. And now, here are your hosts.
Hey, good morning. Scott Luton here, live with you on Supply Chain Now. Welcome back to the show. We are, if you probably can hear it in the background, we're broadcasting live from MODEX, the largest supply chain trade show in the Western Hemisphere, held right here in Supply Chain City, Atlanta, GA. And on today's show, we've got a home run guest, speaking with a supply chain technology leader that helps to make supply chain happen, make supply chain successful. So stay tuned as we look to increase your supply chain tech IQ. Quick programming note, you can subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, you name it. Be sure to subscribe, right? I stole your line.
You named it.
I did.
That's good, though.
Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single thing. Want to welcome in my fearless, esteemed co-host here today, Greg White, serial supply chain tech entrepreneur, trusted advisor, spirited lunch discussion facilitator, part-time pastor. Greg, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you. I'm doing great. Yeah, it's been a really interesting show, man. I mean, there's a lot going on here.
Absolutely.
Great to be talking to this cat today.
Well, we're really excited to be with this guest here today. So do the intro.
So my good friend and Vice President of Oracle WMS Cloud Development.
Correct.
Diego Pantoja-Navajas. Mi hermano de Bolivia.
That's correct.
See?
That's correct. You got it right.
So, great to have you here, man.
Hey, thank you,
Good to see you.
Yeah, thank you. And you know what? We
can do this, right? We know each other well enough. Yeah, we can do this. So, in case everybody can't tell, Diego and I kind of came up together. We started our companies at roughly the same time, right?
About the same time.
Took investment about the same time. So, your company was, I'll let you tell the rest of the story.
Please.
But your company was acquired by Oracle some time ago, and you're now transitioning it to a full Oracle suite of products, right? So we can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's correct. You're right. That acquisition happened 3 years ago. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's so fast, man.
It does.
It's incredible.
3 years. That's
3 years
amazing.
ago. Like, I feel like 3 years, and it's been a lot of change.
3 years and 2 children.
3 years, 2 children, and the only sad part is that I don't get to see him that often now, Scott.
Actually, the last time we tried to set up a dinner, his wife Paula said, "You should punch each other in the face for not being better friends to one another."
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We didn't. Right.
No.
We're nonviolent. This is a nonviolent
This
friendship.
is correct. This is a good relationship and friendship for a long time.
Yeah.
Well, this is going to be a great episode, I think, on that basis alone. So, Diego, tell us about, before we talk about all the exciting things the last 3+ years must be. I mean, to be part now of the Oracle family of companies, which is helping to make things happen across the global supply chain. Let's get to know you better first, though. I know. Let's learn about Diego what Greg may know. So tell us a little about yourself, where you're from, and give us a story or two about your upbringing.
Sure. I was born in Bolivia, South America. And I had the opportunity to grow up in different countries. My dad had a very important job, and we used to travel to different countries. We learned to deal with different cultures, with different people. I have 3 brothers, and I learned to live with them, good and bad, correct?
Yes.
You guys might know about that.
Broken bones and all.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and noses. But the good thing is, that gave me a lot of structure in terms of, being able to adjust to diversity, adjust to different challenges. I came to the U.S. in 1999. On January 2nd, to go to Georgia Tech. So I was very lucky that I was able to get to Georgia Tech. I did supply chain. I did industrial engineer there.
Wow.
I graduated with honors, and I've been very focused on really building my career. I know it sounds a little bit boring, but it's really that's been the focus, correct? It's been the focus when you come from a different country, okay? And this is very important. Maybe you guys don't see it because you guys were born here, but when you come here, when you come to the U.S., and to your point, when you come to the capital of the world, the supply chain, Okay, not the U.S. The world.
Yeah.
You have a very short amount of time to make it happen, correct? And you cannot waste your time. So that was it. Very focused, very oriented. I was able to start in supply chain early on. I used to work for different companies in supply chain that gave me a lot of structure. I had the opportunity to meet great people like Neil Fall and others. That's who introduces us.
Right. That's right.
And I keep saying that I come from the Neil Fall school of thought.
Who is Neil, by the way? I got to ask.
Wow. Neil he's
godfather
of the barcode, godfather of supply chain.
Yeah.
And he had Neil Thought and Associates, and he had other retail companies that he also sold. So he's one of those guys that he had a lot of I would say he was able to develop a lot of leaders like Greg and I in the industry for many years.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the boring part. Come here, went to school, graduated, and I was, I'm an engineer, yes, but I'm also being an entrepreneur by nature. So I always wanted to build my own company. I started to learn more about cloud in 2006. Okay. That's the time when I started to look into what was happening in the world, why supply chain was so not ready for it, correct? Like we've been one of the laggards to really go into supply chain.
Yeah.
Into the cloud. Sorry, my bad. Yeah. And then we started to dig into that. We wanted to create a differentiator in the industry. We wanted to make sure that companies get out of that vicious cycles of how they develop software, how they maintain software, how they really take care of their customers.
And implement as well.
And implement, correct?
Right? Because, WMS in the day, and traditional solutions still are today, very heavily service-oriented, right?
Yes.
The product is just a kernel of what you need very often, and you have to build so much process and technology around it as you implement.
Yeah, right? And if you think about the industry in general, before cloud, correct, this implementation used to take 12 months.
Right.
And more, correct?
Right.
But
if you were lucky, 12 months.
You were lucky, correct? But if you look into that, it's because most of those companies, they used to report around 75 to 85% of their earnings coming from consulting services, not from selling technology, correct?
Right.
So it was a vicious cycle, and that vicious cycle needed to end. And I think cloud was able to bring that technology, make it more affordable, break the cost barrier entry point that at the same point, small, medium companies didn't have. Only the big companies were able to access to greatest and latest. And
it's a grand equalizer.
It is in a way, correct. But I think that's the technology, and we will talk about in as how technology has progressed, correct. But if you look about Greg's company, our company, and all the cloud players that started early, and we were early adopters and pioneers pretty much in supply chain, we really took a big bet because at that time the conversation was, I'm never going to put my supply chain, my inventory, the core of my business, my data, my differentiator in the cloud, correct?
Right.
I don't want to. But
doesn't seem like
have
that.
Times changed.
And that doesn't seem like that long ago, but it was.
It was.
I mean, that was 15 years ago, right?
15 years ago, correct? Yeah. We don't look that old, but
but we've held up pretty well. I think
those are genes. But it is being that long, correct? It's been that long in terms of the maturity of the market, and the market is still not at full maturity, correct?
Yeah.
We have crossed the chasm.
Yep.
We are still in that adoption phase. I think we are in the later part or the latter part of the adoption phase.
Yeah.
But still, we're not fully there because companies are still not there, correct?
Sure.
The financial model of the on-prem model is still there, is valid. There are big companies that they're still working on that model, and they're not allowing their customers to move on.
So for non-technologists,
okay,
that are still, we get a lot of feedback from students that are looking to break into supply chain. We get a lot of feedback from folks that are early in their supply chain careers or business careers. So if you had to describe what Oracle WMS cloud development does in a nutshell for non-technologists, what would that be, Diego?
Well, we're the execution part of the supply chain, correct? We're the ones who get the hands dirty and move things in the supply chain, okay? We're the guys at the warehouse. We're the guys who unload trucks, storage inventory, and at the end of the day, the loads that we put in the trucks to deliver, correct? But that's one model, correct?
Right.
The supply chain of the past, correct, was very linear, correct? It was very simple. Products got manufactured in the sourcing point. They used to go linearly into the end of the consumer.
A, B, C.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then, of course, cloud, mobile,
consumer demand,
e-commerce, that have changed, and we have moved from a push type of supply chain to a demand-driven supply chain, correct?
So true.
So now the supply chain has become very complex. Not only now we get dirty at the warehouse, but we get dirty at the stores, and we make sure that inventory it's available to be able to complete all the different cycles that we need in supply chain, correct? Planning, forecasting, shipping, and then now you merge all those with new KPIs, ship from store, or what is your conversion rate from on-prem, or from direct from warehouse to ship from store or pick up store.
Right.
The KPIs have also evolved because the number of channels in supply chain has multiplied, and they will continue multiplying because we see more challenges.
Right.
We see
more channels.
More channels.
I mean, you can buy on Instagram.
And you can buy Instagram, correct? So and that's fabulous, correct? Like, I think supply chain is one of those industries that will never settle with one model, correct?
Right.
Because we are consumers, and supply chain now has moved away from this linear model that I just told you before to this consumer-centric industry where we consumers are at the center of the supply chain.
That's right.
And everything evolves about us, correct? Yeah. We became the center of the supply chain. We demand products every time we want. We want products anywhere we want. We are being also, as a society, being faced with challenges like the virus that we are experiencing in today's world, correct?
Sustainability, circular economy.
Exactly, correct. So, and on all those have a direct impact into the economy. So, Dwight and I... Sorry.
The beautiful thing about that, Diego, is that supply chain can solve a lot of... What can supply chain leadership, supply chain know-how, technology, what can it not solve?
Well, I think what we've seen supply chain transition. I think supply chain professionals were set up to solve these problems by first being firefighters.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When the problems hit, the supply chain people solve the problems.
Correct.
Right? And over time, we've evolved that from, I can't remember who said this, from rewarding the arsonist so that we can claim to be great firefighters to trying to prevent the fires. And that evolution continues, but we've always had the component of being incredibly responsive when a disruption like coronavirus or a change in infrastructure or even a change in the drivers of supply chain occur. We're naturally adaptable as professionals, and the technology is likewise.
Correct.
And I think that supply chain is one of the best equipped portions of industry to evolve as commerce evolves over time.
Agreed. And the cool thing that I really have enjoyed seeing is now there's over just in the U.S. alone, there's over 500 institutions from Georgia Tech, which is a preeminent supply chain school, to two-year schools, to tech schools, over 500 programs around that focus on supply chain management in our educational system. That's going to keep that pipeline of talent into an industry that can, to steal thunder from Enrique Alvarez, save the world.
Yeah,
in many ways.
But to your point, correct? Like if you go back 5-10 years ago, correct? The supply chain chief executive officer didn't exist.
That's right. That's right.
So it's something that companies realize, like, we need somebody that can help us in this part of the equation for making our company more profitable. Correct? At the end of the day, we are the ones who are making those cost units cheaper. We're making the margins higher. We are the ones dealing with seasonalities, viruses. Correct? 90 days ago, before we signed for this show, correct?
You had to go through your agent, right? You're in demand,
yes,
Diego.
He is.
But
he's got his PR team here with him.
But look at that. Correct? 90 days ago, we were not talking about this virus. 90 days ago, we were talking about Brexit.
Super Bowl.
Check. Super Bowl. Check. We were talking about
sustainability,
trade wars. We were talking about that, correct? So I think when I'm going with this, I think data now, it's the data that we have in supply chain is driving the decisions, is driving how the future will continue shaping in a better way, correct?
Yep.
Before there were too many silos, and we experienced that, correct? There was on-prem solutions. There were very siloed applications.
Right.
There was not enough
interaction. WMS didn't talk to demand planning, and vice versa.
Right? Which was crazy, correct? We had these conversations together with multiple customers that we worked together in the past, where now the data has become really the fuel of the supply chain.
Yeah.
And if you look now that the usability of data, it's really unlocking endless possibilities now in terms of how you pivot supply chains and how you drive supply chain going forward, correct? Mm-hmm. We're moving from models where we used to source products from one location. That model we used to we used to live by that model for the last 50 years. We need to change that. It's not anymore about labor force or space. It's about productivity. It's about increasing our student or our workforce new technologies like machine learning. I don't like artificial intelligence. I like machine learning. And the reason why I don't like artificial intelligence because people think about Robocop and machines.
All things go wrong.
All things go wrong. It's really machine learning is how we can find those events within our work or supply chain that machines can learn to make it more easier for us. Okay, so sorry for that. But we're making data more available. We're making data more accessible. And all these 4.0 industry technologies, emerging technologies are helping us and to making more informative decisions, helping companies to drive that decision upstream and downstream. We're able to refocus in terms of building 1 million square feet warehouses. Now we're saying, hey, we can move to a black store type of model where we're changing the model, we're bringing the demand. Anyway, that data, and that's what we need to understand is the data will continue increasing, will continue growing, the physical state will continue declining, but at the end of the day, we are doing one thing.
Yes.
And we're doing that one thing better.
Yes.
We're serving our customers better.
I love that. But going
we're
way
those
back,
people, so we all benefit
that's
from
right.
it. I love that.
But going way back to something you just shared there is data is the fuel of supply chain. I love that. That's the first time I've heard it put like that. We've heard, of course, data. We're all dealing with it. We all understand just how important that is now more than ever before. Just over your right shoulder, I was giving a thumbs up. Dave Byrne, who leads economic development in Newton County here in Georgia, where Facebook just put that huge campus.
Yeah.
He just stopped by and thinking of whether it's social media data, whether it's supply chain and business data, whatever it is, we're consumed with it, right? And business leaders, the savvy ones, know just how important getting the data, getting the right data so that you can make these important and timely decisions. We can't study something for 3 weeks these days, right?
Correct. Like look social media, to your point, correct? The effect on supply chain. One late delivery to your house. I go to Facebook, I go to Twitter
and flame the
vendor, correct? Yeah. So that's how we're living in a world with the data became the major fuel, the major source of information. We're dealing with massification of products at the same time. Correct?
You're impersonating me.
Yeah, correct.
I get all my syllables wrong.
We're able to go find products now because Tiger Woods won the Masters last year,
right?
And we won, and we went all crazy to buy new golf clubs,
new Tiger gear,
which was in the back of the warehouse because it was not cool anymore, correct?
Right.
But then supply chain needed to react to that social event and be able to be more efficient in shipping that product and making that product available.
Yeah. So I want to give you another great example to illustrate the great point you're making. There was a very well-known fast food and rapidly growing fast food company that about 6 months or so ago there was an image that hit a story and an image that hit social media about one of their products. And
oh boy,
I'm not sure if it. And I'm not going into specifics.
Why
I'm
not?
not sure. Well, so
it's one of my favorite restaurants.
Yes,
by the way,
within
has probably clued into who it is.
Same day, this supply chain team had to send folks on site to kind of verify these claims, and then they at the same time figuring out alternative sourcing.
Correct.
Right?
Oh,
talk about the social media impact on supply chain. I mean, it's immense.
Yeah,
immense.
You're
immense.
thinking of an even different event than I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of the Popeyes chicken sandwich.
Oh,
event.
you're gonna go ahead and name that, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what you were thinking of?
No.
Oh.
No. Competitor, but I mean, nevertheless, we'll keep driving.
But I think that I think it is those kind of things that we have to adapt to. And I think the other thing, and that brings up a very good point. I was going to bring up on another front, and that is that supply chain used to be considered a back office kind of event, a kind of service. But if you think about it, with the importance of customer experience and the exposure of social media, and as you were both talking about, and you think about things like sustainability and ethical vendor behavior and circular economy, supply chain is more and more a part of the identity and the branding of every company that moves goods on the planet.
Yep.
It's out front. It's no longer a back office thing.
Right.
It's more than just, we used to, not so long ago, Diego, we used to say that it's no longer a necessary evil. It's a strategic differentiation, and it's even more than that now.
Agreed.
It is the identity of your company.
And that point is so valid, correct? And talking with CIOs and CEOs, one of the things that we find out is that, and this is a huge percentage, okay, 65% of their revenue, okay, it's coming from improvements of inventory visibility. And it's a big number, and it's coming from what they're able to do in order to reduce the costs that were related to supply chain.
Right.
Making that product available on time, making sure that that product is delivered on time. So all the KPIs that you can imagine, if you check on all of those, and that is how relevant we became in today's world, correct?
Yep.
We are not to Greg's point, we're not anymore that cost center that we're consuming resources to manage the product. Now we're turning the companies around and making sure that because of our technology, because of what we can do
and the data,
now we can turn around companies and make them more efficient. And like, look, you see most of the retails now in North America, correct? A couple of weeks ago, I released an article talking about them and the transformation that they had, and really, these companies have become technology companies with a front end.
That's right,
or a back end.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, these companies are investing heavily in technology. Internally, they're developing multiple applications. They're driving the data like we talk, and of course, they have their beautiful stores. But the stores have reshaped, have changed, and all the kind of things that we know. But they have become a technology company rather than a retail company.
Yeah. All right. So as is the case typically when we get three folks around a table that are passionate about what we're talking about, we're everywhere.
This has become our manifesto, our supply chain manifesto, hasn't
so
it?
This is That's right. This is my attempt at adding just a little bit of structure to the conversation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Diego, you've shared, I believe, way back when before we dove into some of the trends shaping the industry, what your company does, right? We want to broaden it back out in a moment, but before we do that, can you kind of give us a sense of the types of organizations that you're working with and the types of the problems that you're solving with those organizations?
Well, in terms of industries, we are working in almost 14 different industries. Okay,
14.
Yeah, sorry, 14. Yeah. Sorry, 14. This is said 40. I apologize. 14 different industries. Okay, and the beauty about that is, before we became part of Oracle, we were a standalone solution. Okay, very focused on 5 different industries. Since we became part of this large footprint of supply chain applications, we have expanded the number of industries that we serve and the number of customers that we serve, and also the number of complex
challenges
yeah. and needs that customers have in their supply chains, correct? Because as you expand, and now we have expanded into 32 different countries.
Yeah.
The application has been translated in 17 different languages, and that's going on and going and growing. And now we serve a large sales force that before it was a 5-man show, correct?
Yeah.
So the complexities have grown tremendously. But to your point there, Scott, at the end of the day, it comes down to how more efficient can you make my supply chain, correct? It's about, and we are in the cloud, correct? And we were born from the cloud, and our application has always been in the cloud. So we are really tailored to those customers that believe that that's the transformation that they need to do, the digitalization that we talk, correct? Which for me has a broader repercussion, but it can be anything, but at the same time it can be how you're moving from procedures, or how you're moving from technology that you didn't update, that you didn't have your hands around, correct? What happened is, Scott, there is that many of these customers had their hands tied because of the technology that they had in the past.
Right.
So, they were not able to adapt to all of the different channels or all the different challenges that we're talking. They were not able to analyze the data or see the data the way we're seeing it.
Because it was tied to on-premise solutions for one of the reasons?
Lots of customization hamstrung them because you could implement the same system that I did at its core, but because you customized it, you have essentially what is a one-off, right? And that disabled companies from being able to move forward rapidly because even the company who had built the technology couldn't support it. There was so much. The person who wrote that code that made it so customized to you was long gone.
Yeah. Or the person, to Greg's point, correct? Oh, yeah, Jerry left the company.
Yeah.
You got hit by a bus.
Or, but
won the lottery. Let's go with won the lottery.
Why you guys needed that? It's like, well, we don't know. Jerry left the company, correct?
Yeah.
So those are conversations that, and also the cost, correct? It was not an update. It was an upgrade.
Right.
Okay? And there's a huge difference between upgrades and updates, correct? It was a rip and replace, correct? You needed to change everything. Database, servers, application, do the whole thing again, correct? Now with cloud, we release code 4 times a year.
Yes.
Okay. So you're getting we're not only releasing code for you, Scott. We're releasing code that is going to be applicable to all customers, to all industries, and that's where the complexity comes. Correct. So we have taken a lot of the complexities away from the customers, and because of now being able to automate a lot of those processes internally, and being able to use state-of-the-art technology, and we run our products in high availability servers, and we have a tremendous Oracle Cloud Gen 2 that allow us to host all these applications, to have great performance, blah blah blah. So
you have better cybersecurity than they have on their servers at home, in on-premise.
Security and everything that became so. That's a huge point. Thank you for bringing that up. All those components have made that supply chain more efficient and better. But to your point, we're solving. At the end of the day, we're moving products, correct?
Right.
It can be cars, it can be automotive pieces, it can be shoes, pharmaceuticals, supermarket, it can be technology, iPhone, whatever it is, correct? But at the end of the day, it's being able to have the flexibility to adapt and being able to give our customers, regardless of the industry, the tools that they need to face today's challenges for tomorrow's benefit. Correct? That's how I will summarize that.
So let me make this one point very quickly, which is very rare.
Yes,
Scott.
Very rare.
And that is one of the things that overcomes the burden of customization is that cloud solutions use switches and dials, virtual switches and dials, to make those changes that your enterprise needs versus what my enterprise needs, and that makes the product eminently more sustainable, more supportable, but equally as configurable. So if you think about the difference between configurability and customization, configurability is supportable, customization not so much.
And to add on to that, sorry for keep growing on this point. It's
okay. You're just between us and lunch, man.
Yeah. So or a drink, correct?
Yeah,
so it depends how long it goes.
Yeah.
No, but what is important to that point, correct, is as we've been growing in terms of number of industries, number of customers, and regions, correct. We also, as cloud innovators and cloud companies, we really needed to have a very strong platform as a service solution, correct? So now when I talk with customers, I try to help them driving the conversation in terms of 80% of what you need can be done with SaaS, which is software as a service,
right?
With the application, with the with the configurations that you have in the applications, and that 20% remaining, you can explore it by using APIs and extend the application to any behavior that you want. With tools that visual with different mobility or different tools that allow you to build those very unique processes or unique options that you need to make that happen. So at the end of the day, you don't lose that and it's part of your core, it's part of your business, but at the end of the day, we as companies can continue innovating without disrupting you.
Love it. Okay. Now we're going to take a right turn and we're going to go broader with the conversation because I want to get you, I'm sure you've got a thought or two about certain trends or certain things taking place in the global supply chain. And then after we get your take on this, I want to go back to entrepreneurialism after this, but because you got a great story there. But weigh in, one of the common themes to all these interviews, going back to Arizona a couple weeks ago, going back to Las Vegas a month or so ago, is just all the noise, all the, you can cover a story every second that's impacting on some level the global supply chain. When you survey that, and you think about developments or innovations or challenges, you name it, what one or two things has got your attention more than anything else right now?
I will start with, I think we need to understand right now that the only constant that we see in the world right now is change, is disruption, okay? And that's not going to end. We're going to see the next event happening in 90 days or in 2 weeks or in the summertime when the hurricane season starts or something's going to happen, correct? So, and the reason why I start with that point is because the point that I want to make across is that you need to face that chaos now, okay? You cannot continue delaying the change in technology, the change of thought that you have as a leader in your company, and continue elongating or stretching out the technology that you have. Security, new business reasons, being able to
comfort.
Well, you need to be able to pivot and change, correct? You need to understand that your workforce is also changing, you know. And
it's contracting substantially.
And it's going to continue changing, correct? Like if we don't make supply chain, if we don't make our supply chain jobs more interesting to the new generations, correct? If your company is going to continue giving to those end users black screen and
I was afraid you were going to say that. That's exactly what I was thinking. Can you imagine a millennial
correct
in front of a green screen solution? Oh my gosh,
it's crazy, correct? So what I'm going with this point is we really need to, and this is again going to some of the points and conversations I have with different CEOs and CIOs. Is like we want to transform our company, okay? And that conversation started maybe 5 years ago. By 2020, I need to digitalize my company, correct? We're 2020, and I'm still having those conversations with those leaders, and they have not started. Not started yet because they're afraid to, how demanding it's going to be, how disruptive it's going to be for my business. So what I'm trying to say, to summarize, Scott, is companies and you see companies that have made the change, you're seeing now leading the market, correct? You see, and you know, all of us have maybe 4 different names in our heads right now that we have seen transforming over the last 10 years, correct?
Right.
They were in the bottom of the list. They have, you know, faced the chaos. They have made the necessary changes. They have adopted new technology. They have, they took bold decisions.
Yeah.
And now because
they took some arrows, I'm sure.
Yeah,
right?
and they took some arrows, as we all do it and have done it. But now we need to continue making those changes, and companies need to completely understand that if you don't change your game plan, it's not only about the players, it's about the technology, it's about how you evolve. And if you don't make those changes now,
I'll say it.
Okay,
you're doomed.
You're doomed. Thank you.
You are. I mean, you know, we said this we just said this in a recent interview.
Yep.
It used to be that if you were a severe laggard, you were only damaged or delayed. Now you are destroyed. You are facing destruction if you don't do something.
And we have so many of those histories or stories in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Okay.
No doubt.
Now, technology is great,
Yes.
and one thing that you have seen, I think, and if you see in this show, which you have so many great vendors here, and you see new technology, correct? But all of us, and especially when it comes to mechanization and others, you have seen how all these big companies have been able to turn it into more modular way.
Yeah.
So everybody's taking the approach of making it more. You know, if you need more muscle, you can flex the arm and you can add more.
Right.
If you need to take it down,
Dynamic.
It's a dynamic
Yes.
supply chain, and that's how the market is reacting.
Yep.
Okay. So we're going to have you back on. There's so much passion and know-how right here. It is
We'd have to
much
break it
more
into
deserving.
about 6 episodes,
Yeah.
don't you think?
Or maybe a whole mini season, a series or something.
Yeah.
It's like Dallas.
Yeah.
Who shot JFK or
Distribution
JR.
with Diego.
Yeah.
We could call it.
I like that.
Hey,
All right.
it's
So
a unique name.
Yes. So Diego, let's talk about, as we kind of wind down the interview here. Really love what you're sharing with our listeners, and I'm sure they're enjoying it as much. I want to go back, though, kind of more agnostically about entrepreneurialism.
Okay.
Clearly, you had an outstanding inspiration and a model in your father, I believe, and you also had a leg up on. I know as a father, one of the things we're trying to do with our 3 children are give them more international experiences, exposures. You talked about how you had that and you were able to work with different cultures and appreciate different cultures. That is such an advantage in this, and it will continue to be even a greater advantage in this global business age we live in.
Yep.
So speak to that a little bit. Tell us more about that impact, especially early on. And then, for other entrepreneurs out there that are fighting in the trenches, trying to get, breakthrough, trying to break out at early stage, give some inspiration there.
Yeah, look, when we started the company, okay, we look into, of course, the U.S. market is the king of the markets, correct? If you are able to break into the U.S. market, if you are able to get customer momentum in the U.S. market, then you have done a great job on really having a solid solution, a mature solution, a mature business model, and all that kind of good stuff, right? So,
if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. Kind of thing, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm saying, correct? But for us, when we started the company, this was 2007, okay? And cloud, like I said before, was not used in supply chain. And cloud was something that when you talk to supply chain leaders at that time, it was like, hey, it sounds great, guys, but you know what? Let's talk about that in 10 years.
Yeah.
Correct? It's too early. Or never. Correct? Yeah. So we in our case as Scott, what we needed to do, because we were seeing a barrier in the market, we needed to look outside of the US. And we went to emerging markets where they were not afraid about taking that leapfrog approach into new technologies.
Right.
And saying,
they leaned into those challenges.
Those challenges and say, you know what, today I don't have anything. And what I have is costing me a leg and an arm. And I can't continue maintaining my business, my supply chain the way I have it. So here you come with a new model, Instead of charging, by the user, by license, we used to charge by the drink, meaning, based on the number of cases or LPNs that you used to ship. That was our business model.
Right.
So companies look at us. Okay, well, this makes sense, correct? If I'm shipping 100,000 LPNs per day, is equal to this much, and it makes a feasible application for us. Of course, I took advantage to the fact that I went to markets where I speak the language. I was able to put entities down there.
You speak the language except in Argentina.
Except
where
in Argentina.
We speak a whole different language.
Yes. But to that story, my goal was to build a successful customer base in all the industries that I wanted to break into the U.S. market, correct? I wanted to have a pharmaceutical company. I wanted to have a grocery. I wanted to have a retailer. I wanted to have merchandise, home improvement goods.
Yep.
I wanted to have 3PLs, blah, blah, blah. But then we didn't realize that, and this is 2008. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Right?
It's tough time.
It's like it's downtime. The economy is not doing well, and here we are going against the world, with a new application. So, and I think the point here to entrepreneurs is it's really you need to find your market. You need to find the business model that is. It's a business model that you can replicate, that you understand the machine that can generate those leads to fill your sales guys. It's not about a great idea.
Right.
It's not about a technology. It's about solving an issue.
And tenacity.
And fire. And being able to, I can eat rice and tuna for the next 5 years, correct? And being
feels like 5 years. It wasn't. But it felt like it.
Like
we had yesterday for lunch.
I was more a peanut butter and jelly guy.
A jelly guy.
Yeah.
But it is that. So we were able to grow very fast outside of the U.S. In 2012, then we realized, we have triple-digit customers outside of the U.S. And then we started to get that momentum. Of course, we started to see some of the market recognition from analysts like Gartner and others. We got incorporated into the Gartner Magic Quadrant. It's easy to sell with the Quadrant, that to sell against the Quadrant.
Yes.
Okay. So,
amen.
Hey, you say, hey, I'm here. I say, okay, you're validated, correct?
It's not a formula for success. I think we both had Magic Quadrant companies, and we thought, the roof comes off now.
Yeah.
It's not the formula for success, but it is better, as you said, to sell from within the quadrant than to sell against the quadrant.
Exactly.
Right? Because you have been recognized and validated by the
leader
in technology
analysis. And then with that, you start building your market, and the growth went from there. Correct? I think that after that story, and we have had one of the most positive movements in growth in our industry too. But it's also looking in terms of, okay, who do you work with? What is the type of entity that you want to become? What is the type of culture that you want to create? What is the investors that you want to bring on board?
Right.
What is the board that you want to put in place? And where do you see the gaps that you have as an entity that you need to bring more senior level resources to help you drive in that growth? There's a bunch of things and variables that go into building a company, correct?
Absolutely.
I think, I was working with the entrepreneur team at Oracle, and being able to see a lot of startups. And one thing that is concerning to me is that a lot of startups and a lot of companies that come to me and say, hey, do you have an advice? Is like, do you have a business plan? No. Do you have a pricing? No. What is your differentiator?
Right.
I have a great, cool technology. I know. But how are you going to put that cool, great technology in?
Who cares?
Who cares?
Right.
Who wants to buy it? Who is the buyer, your persona profile that you're selling that application to, and how you're going to get to them?
Yeah.
Look, there's technology now. All these large companies and are doing a lot for our entrepreneurs. We're giving them a lot of tools. But I think one thing that we're not giving them is lessons to how to really build a company and how to be, how to face tough times. And that's one of the things that I'm a little bit turned down, that I don't see that, hey, the world is not that easy, and you're gonna face a lot of challenges. You need to be ready for it and go with, if you are really passionate about your product.
You have to confront those demons right up front. Better, as Scott said early, if your job is to eat frogs, eat your frogs in the morning.
First.
Right? Face that worst aspect of the business right now.
Right now. Yes.
Don't
one of the things, not to go too
and
deep.
Mark Twain said that, by the way.
Yes,
I stole it from Mark Twain.
Mark Twain said it, but Scott said it so much better.
Or, like I used to tell my guys, is like, bad news don't get better with time.
Yes.
I like that.
That's right.
Correct?
That's
so,
right. It's
to your point, to your frog story, correct? If you have something wrong or something bad to do or to say or to face, don't wait until it becomes a huge issue that is going to put your company at risk.
Yes. I think just one really quick point that I see, I advise companies every day, as well as doing this, which is by far the most fun thing I've done besides being an entrepreneur. But one of the things that I see is that companies believe more than they have proven that they have uniqueness.
Yes.
Right? And that is one of the hardest and harshest realities to face, but it's the very first one, in my opinion, that you need to face as an entrepreneur is, what is that uniqueness? It might be minuscule.
Yes.
It might be that you're a tiny Latin American-based cloud WMS solution, but you turn that into an incredible differentiator that creates a leverage point to the rest of the world.
Correct.
That's exactly what you did.
Yeah.
Right? You were very focused on a market, very focused on a type of company, and you just continually expanded that by creating credibility for yourself, but you knew what that differentiator was.
And by proving the application.
Yes. Okay. So this here at the end of episode 1 of Distribution with Diego, let's make sure folks know how to get in touch with you. I'm sure, if I was your PR team I'd get you in front of as many people as we can, because your passion, your expertise, your insights, it's like emanating from you. I mean, folks can really learn a lot from your experiences and kind of your know-how of not just where we've been and where we are today, but where we're headed. So I really enjoyed kind of my education here today.
Scott.
But how can folks learn more about Oracle WMS Cloud development? Where can they go and what have you?
I think, go to the Oracle page and webpage and find the logistics division there within there, and they will find us. But the easiest way is LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I'm there. If you have any questions, if you have any thoughts about supply chain and others that I can help you with, I'll be more than happy to do it. And in general, correct? I think that the beauty about this, and going back to my relationship with Greg, is that we are leaders that we are very easy to access. And there's no many layers to get into us and to be able to get to experience from our knowledge or from our experiences. And so anyway,
we want people to win.
We want people to
win.
Right,
and so we do have
a
very easy access channel.
We're here in supply chain, right? And again, an industry that 15 years ago was in the back room, correct? Right. And we want to continue pushing that envelope further. We want to continue making the differentiator. Look, like I tell my customers, financials, ERP, great, you need it, but it's not going to change your company, correct?
Right.
How you move products, how you deal with your inventory, how you deal with your end consumer is what's going to make you win. So
change the world.
Wow, that's a great statement.
And this is the capital of the world for supply chain.
Yes, I love that. Love that.
Boy.
Well, so that's going to just about wrap it up here on this episode. Diego Pantoja-Navajas, Vice President with Oracle WMS Cloud Development. I've mentally been studying that for 17 minutes, as our audience may know. I'm slow when it comes to pronunciation. A lot of the wrong emphasis on
right
syllables.
Yeah, that's right. Emphasis on the wrong syllable.
That's right. But really have enjoyed this conversation. I'd love to have you back on down the road a little bit, especially as y'all go through this incredible growth period.
Thank you.
I've really enjoyed it, Diego.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. Thank you, my friend.
You bet.
Yeah, thank you.
So don't take off just yet, Greg. Incredible. I mean, I know this is right up your. I mean, it's up my alley, but it's really right up your alley. I love the connection y'all had, kind of going through the growth and the journey, and
I feel like we were little kids and we grew up riding trikes together. Yeah. I mean, really.
Yeah, we used to I used to see his office from my office.
Yeah, that's true. Literally, you could literally do that.
So,
what are you doing? No, go back to work.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, so we're going to have Diego back on. Loved it. To our audience, be sure to stay with us as we continue our coverage of Modex 2020. Yeah. It's the place to be if you're in supply chain this week in Atlanta. Also, you can find upcoming events, replays of our interviews, other resources at supplychainnowradio.com. You can find us and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. On behalf of the entire team here, Scott Luton wishing you a wonderful week ahead, and we will see you next time on Supply Chain Now. Thanks, everybody.